Ooh, what's that name, eh? I think I got like 3 or 4 things that I wanted to bring to you real quick. So the first thing I wanted to bring up, and it's short. I mean, I guess it makes it 4 things. So I've noticed there's a lot of like very specific confusion that's happening within everyone, not in a specific group. And it's mostly due to social media, if you really think about it. TikTok and Instagram, probably Twitter too. I'm not on Twitter anymore, but it makes me think of the Rockefeller manifesto and how they specifically said, basically as like a bullet point. It's like something to check off the list that they would have everyone's so confused that they wouldn't know what was real and what wasn't, what was true and what was false. And I think a big part of that is it seems like it has to do with some kind of weird like combination of life experience, like context, and then like basically creating a root of that in people and then using that root to continue to like push the line of any one specific thing. And you gotta think like this, the amount of money and resource and time and capability that this force has is immeasurable. It's ineffable. It's in every facet. Like the amount of misinformation, disinformation, but also like fucking traitors. I mean, there is technology where you can make fake people and make fake videos. There's definitely that. But then there are also beings that are definitely walking around that I think knowingly make bunk videos and get paid for it, which I can't really wrap my head around other than it's not just like one of us that doesn't care and will just take the money. I mean, at least not all the time. I'm sure that happens sometimes. But it would have to be like their bloodlines aren't just like presidents, you know? They've got kids, they've got nephews, they've got nieces, they've got, plenty of beings that could be like their job, you know? I think a lot of us have this idea that if a rich family has kids, they don't really have to do anything. And for a lot of well-off families, that may be true, but these aren't just well-off families, right? These are specific bloodlines that like have a uniform goal, they have a uniform task. And they're very ritualistic in nature. And to some extent, it's just like anything else. Like, they believe some of this shit. They also may not believe in it, but have to do it, or other families will kill. Like, there's plenty of reasons for why they would need to have their family members support the cause or do something for the cause. It just makes me think of those times that I see clips and videos on, Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and they're showing you a thing, And the thing is very obviously dumb or fake or old or whatever it might be. But they're selling it, wholeheartedly selling it. And the instinct is to go, oh, well, they've built this platform, they need content, you know what I mean? They need content. But I don't think it's that all the time. I think sometimes, like, that's their job. In like, in a cult sense, not in a, you know, capitalist sense. Even if they're not, you know, seemingly doing that well with their channel or whatever, doesn't mean that they're not reaching what or who they need to reach. As I've stated many times, I don't really think there's many of us here. I think we're the minority. And I think the more you isolate us, whether it be just physically or physically and functionally, like just so busy with work or whatever it is you have going on, that you don't really have time to go do a bunch of stuff. And so when you do have time, you jump on the old drug box, the Black Mirror in your pocket, because it's all in one now. It's also where you get your news from. It's where you go to talk to people that you may know or may not know or have an illusion of knowing. This is it's also intricate, and the level of intricacy is disturbing. Watching some of these channels on YouTube, some, you know, we're all I can't I'm not saying that anymore. I was gonna say we're all beings, we're all people. I'm not gonna say that shit anymore, dude. I can't qualify that anymore. Some of these channels that I use for research material, some of them I just like to watch. I'm starting to notice real slips in, I don't know what to call it, you know, because it is confusion, and it is everyone's right to try to follow their intuition. But with some stuff, man, it's just really, really trippy. I just listened to a dude talking about his theory. I'm trying to say it without fucking whatever, dude. I talk about it all the time. The 1,000-year reign. He's talking about how he's been focused on that for a minute, and I'm just interested to see the progression of it. I guess that's why I keep checking in on it. I much prefer the Nephilim videos and the Nephilim research. But regardless, he's like talking about a new epiphany that he had in his like theory work as far as that goes. And he goes into this really like elaborate, and in my opinion, it's not dumb. It's just, I don't know what to call it, but a very elaborate but goofy theory having to do with the 1,000-year reign, and how, like, I guess the easiest way to say it is that he's had this epiphany that, like, the mechanics of that system, that Abrahamic system, don't really work, because it's all assuming that it just goes directly by the Bible, right? And so he's like, oh, well, so, but it's Satan, though. Satan can lie. So Satan could make you think that you're in a different time period than you're in. And that way you're kind of, you know, when he does his thing, you're caught off guard. Or it'll make it easier to accept the Antichrist. Or, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but, like, it was all over the place. And in my mind, I'm just like, okay, so I get trying to think through a theory. That's how I think through theories. It's just kind of all over the place. But the thing that got me was, like, if you're a Christian, and especially his gang of Christians, they're a lot. Their faith is unwavering. If your faith is like that, then why does any of that fucking matter? Do you believe in Jesus? I was a Christian. That's all that fucking matters. Do you believe in Jesus? Well, you'll be fine then. That's what that's what they teach you. All you gotta do is believe in Jesus and do your best. You're a sinner, so ask for forgiveness repeatedly, and give your power to Him. You are nothing without Him. You have no strength without Him. He is your everything. So as long as you do that, none of that other shit fucking matters. I mean, I guess if it's just fun for you, then that's one thing. But the way that he was talking was like, almost like trying to figure it out to be prepared for something. And I'm like, what do you need to prepare for? I just don't really understand it. It's not just him. There are other beings that are like varying levels of, Abrahamic faith, believers, and they're all kind of freaking out. And it's not to say that there's no reason to be freaking out. This thing, the Black Mirror thing, is showing a lot of crazy shit right now. But A, you don't know any of that shit is true. You didn't see any of it with your own, also capable of lying eyes. You saw it on a phone. I think it's very important to remember that. Like, if you didn't touch it or see it, you don't know that it's even real. And even if you see it, if you didn't touch it, it's blue beam, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And that's become, for me, more of like a saying than a literal sense of the phrase. And to me, what that means is, like, if you didn't experience it in some way that makes it more tangible and real to you, you shouldn't go believing that full-heartedly like that. I think that's really gonna fuck. I think that's what's gonna fuck everything up. It's just twisting everybody around until they start like getting so desperate to believe shit that, whatever comes along that resonates with them, they're like, yep. I just think you have to be careful of that. Like, even the shit I was talking about earlier for my personal stuff, that epiphany that I had, it's not to say that I believe anything. It just let me know that what I had led myself to believe doesn't have to be true. And so it took me back to a 0 point where it's like, oh, well, you just don't know what the fuck that is. And that, though it's disturbing, to me it's more comfortable than fucking thinking I know, but then I end up being fucking wrong, like really in a real bad way. I don't know, it kind of made me feel bad listening to it. And that could come off as sounding condescending, but I definitely don't mean it to. But just there was like an air of like, almost like desperation to know for sure and be prepared. But to me, that's why it made me feel bad. It's like, dude, you're the ones that say Jesus is it. That's all you need. And so what's all the rest of that? It's a very strange version of Christianity. I don't understand it. And he is a new Christian. He said he was a new Christian. So maybe it's that. But then his, like, followers, his congregation, they could also be new. I don't know. It's some kind of weird version of Christianity. And it's not to say that the OG version of Christianity is not weird. But it's like removing a DNA sequence from Christianity almost. Because that's the thing that gives them hope and that gives them the strength is I don't need to worry about anything because I got Jesus. That's the whole thing. Which makes it very difficult to walk away from. But once you get enough information that makes sense, and I'm not saying stuff that was told to me, like told for me to believe. I'm saying once I started looking around at what other beings and other groups are being told and how similar those stories are and how, this story was actually taken from this story in Sumer and oh, but this scripture was taken from this story in the Gnostic text, like it's deep how unoriginal that body of work is, the Bible, And it does pay to listen to theologians and shit like that because you'll get some good insight. But overall, dude, I don't get that. I thought that was the whole point, is like, Jesus is the way. That's it. The rest of it's just like, I don't know, philosophy, I guess, right? There's the law, which is the commandments, and then the rest of it is just like shaping you into the being that they want you to be. That's what all those allegories and shit are. I mean, on that level, there's some hidden stuff in the Bible. I really don't understand that book now that I know so much more about it. It's like it's a manual for like 3 or 4 different situations depending on your level of comprehension, which is really disingenuous. People are like, that's amazing, and it is amazing, but it's also fucking weird. That's disingenuous. Just say what you're trying to say. Why the fuck does it have to be 4 different books? Why does it have to be 4 different books depending on who you are? Ugh. Which leads me to the next thing that I wanted to mention. This illusion of separation shit is fucking gross, dude. And I've talked about the illusion of separation in a few different contexts, a few different interpretations of that concept. And the one that I came across today in my research was the concept of angels and demons, and how within all of this like political shit, this right and left type, Democrat Republican type energy that's going on with angels and demons, it seems to me that everyone's forgetting that they're from the same side. They're from the same being. And a very interesting and logical point that the person speaking made was, why doesn't anyone realize that not only are they from the same, master, but if angels really had your best interests at heart, wouldn't they have like won this shit by now? Or wouldn't they make it more clear that they're on your side? And there's always this like apologist shit that religious beings tend to do, regardless of, not even just Abrahamic, just regardless. When you start trying to bring up logical things, even just as like genuine questions, not trying to debate them or take their faith away from them or anything, even if you're just trying to understand, the answers that they give back to those logical questions are faith-based. They're not real answers. They're answers that are good enough for them and their faith. They're not answers that actually answer the question. Like, if your side is so powerful and the other side, is no match, why the fuck is there still a war? And why is it being allowed to continue? Like, look at all the fucking casualties. Look at all the gross shit that goes on in this terrarium. And they're really just not doing shit about it. You know? There's a few answers I can think of if I had to try to anticipate. But they're dumb answers, dude. Like, the same thing is, at one point, dude was like, he brought up a hypothetical and was like, well, you probably say, well, why doesn't Satan just get rid of the Bible? And I'm like, good question. And he's like, I don't think he's that powerful. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? He can do all of the things that you're saying he can do, but he can't get rid of a book? I just don't... I don't understand. Like, even if there's truth to some of these things, those mechanics don't seem, like, dumb or irrational. They do to me. I don't understand that shit at all. It's very confusing. And I mean, to look at the encounters that a lot of beings have with, like, angels, supposedly, they're not so much different than some of the encounters with demons. Not possession, encounters. And they are the same, you know? Fallen angels and angels, same. And then some people have the interpretation that fallen angels are not the same as demons. Well, then what the fuck are demons? Where'd they come from? What are they? You know? To just make shit up for an answer is a very weird tactic. And then to, like, for real, 100% believe it. Not just make it up, but, like, make it up and instantly, that is truth up here. That's some wild shit to see. It's very it's very disturbing. I don't really like being around people like that, because that's some weird energy, some real powder keg shit. I don't know, that illusion of separation thing when it comes to, you know, angels, fallen angels, and demons. You know, the person that I was listening to is essentially like, dude, they're all on the same side. Angels are just to, like, you know, deter you from seeing what is actually going on. Because if you take a second and remove that faith and just look at this reality, this simulation, what are they doing to help? They're only helping those that believe already? Because that's fucking weird. That's weird also. Right? Like, if they're such good natured beings and they just want everyone to be okay and everyone to be, you know, whole, well, why the fuck would they only talk to those that are already that or on the path to that? Don't they need to, like, go help some of the lost souls? And even if there's, like, some kind of opportunistic written in answer to that question, to me it's very likely, like, just relying on the fact that it's in the Bible. There's so many times where they say something and it's literally just because it's in the Bible that they believe it. Which, I mean, to remove all this other shit, dude, your own historians tell you that, you know, many different beings wrote the Bible, not the ones that are credited, just random dudes. You know, Charlemagne, Constantine, not a biblical not a biblical character. He's just a monarch who was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this. and put my own shit in the Bible. Fucking Shakespeare, dude. Francis Bacon. To know that the Bible has been edited, without a doubt, that is admitted, and then to still believe anything from it, that in itself is delusion. And so if I were still within that faith-based system, I would say to myself, all right, and I did before I realized that I needed to part with Christianity. That was the last stop before that. Was, okay, this book is full of shit. Those churches also full of shit. I'm not doing either one of them anymore. Me and you will just talk. That's it. Me and you will just talk to each other. And that's the best way. That's what my last iteration was before I started really looking into all this shit. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to stop talking to you now. Just giving you my plans. You're probably sitting up laughing at me. You know what I mean? I don't know, dude. It's sad, you know? Like, I do want everyone to be okay. Even those that I don't think are us. Even those that, you know, hate us or hate me or don't like me or don't like us. As long as they're not on that side doing that shit, I want them to be okay. If you want to be delusional, buddy, go, you know, be delusional. That's all right. But usually that's not where it stops. Their instructions are fucking weird. And it's very messed up to me that they don't really tend to see that. Because what is claimed by Christianity is absolutely not what is done in practice. Like, it's the opposite. What's done in practice is, you know, war crimes and sex crimes and fucking murder and shit. They're terrible people as a whole. Not, you know, one by one. There's some good people in there, but I feel even worse for them because they're surrounded by fucking monsters. I don't know, I just couldn't stop thinking about that as I'm listening to this dude really try to make sense of the theory. And they're just waiting on this dude to come back, and he's wrestling with that. He's like, oh, well, if he already reigned, then he's not coming back right now. It's like, all right. And just like trying to make sense of it in a fashion that allows him to like kind of plan for it, I guess, or to be prepared for things. And he talked about the many possible manipulations. Now that he understands, like, oh, if Satan is Satan, then why do I think he just follows rules? Which, good. That's a good step. That's a good step to take. Because that would be logic. If Satan is a trickster and the father of lies and all these other titles that he has, why do you think he's like, you know, hopscotching in the lines? I don't get that. So at least he made that step. But most don't, though. Most beings believe that Satan is like following this set of rules. What? Does it look like he's following a set of rules? Because it doesn't look like that to me. And as a matter of fact, like, there's this separation. I think they're trying to meld them together. And when I say they, I mean the they, you know, I tend to talk about sometimes. Not the all the way up they, the archons and all that shit, but like the ones that are down here, the selling their soul, you know, doing the weirdo shit, they. It really seems like they're trying to combine those concepts, which, you know, is weird because I believe that. I think that there isn't a difference. If you watch my shit, you know that's a big part of my theory. Is like, for a while, for a time, for a season, they thought that it was beneficial for some to believe in this spiritual, you know, faith, dogmatic shit, allegories and, you know, epics, and all that stuff. And then for others, more scientific minded, they started throwing UFOs and aliens at them and shit. When, in my opinion, aliens and fucking angels are the same shit. UFOs and angels are the same shit. Very mechanical in appearance and in description. Like, an angel looks like technology when you look at the ones that are described. The just orbs within orbs covered in eyeballs. It just looks like some fucking sci-fi shit. And whatever. I mean, it's a little not concerning. I do want to know what's up with trying to combine them, but I already have a theory that I think is just to get everyone to believe in stuff that they don't see usually, because that was something they needed to catch up on up until very recently. If you were that type of person, you were crazy and you're a conspiracy theorist and all that shit. Now all of a sudden, all you motherfuckers want to believe all this shit and more. You want to believe it all and more. And those of us that have actually put a lot of thought and work and discernment into trying to figure it out, we'll be like, hey, that is not true. Don't give that your time. And they just like, you don't fucking know. It's like, all right, dude, handle your candle, do your thing. I'm not gonna stand in the way of that potential year-long fucking goose chase. I do think that it's like a shift in the paradigm, because it's not to say that the misleading is over. It's just being shifted into some new shit. And then it's not to say that that the separation is over. It's just certain things are getting combined and are no longer separate, and other things are being separated. It's very discombobulating to keep up with, or to even try to follow. But seriously though, if you look at the things that are happening in the works of today, I genuinely can't see where you could be like, look how beautiful he made this kingdom for us and all this other shit. It's like, dude, even if you go back in fake history, it's never been good. It's never been good, not even a little bit. There is not a time where it has been good. When they say, oh, times were better back then, it's like, what makes you say that? What the fuck makes you say that? And I mean, I have heard the opposite. I've heard people say, we've never had it better. And it's like, yeah, I just don't think that's true. I think it's splitting hairs, dude. It's just trading one horror experience for another horror experience. That doesn't mean it's better. It just means it's different. Very common mistake. Very common misunderstanding. Better. Different is not better by default. It can be better, but it can also be the exact same thing or fucking worse. And that was another thing he said. It was like, oh, it's gonna get worse if I'm right. It was kind of weird. I don't feel like his followers are really gonna like that video, but maybe, I don't know. He's got like a congregation going on. They kind of like everything he says. There's a lot of that. There's others too that I don't disagree with as much. Not nearly as much. They have like kind of cult followings too. Ugh, I don't like that shit, dude. Please don't do that. I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm getting if you watch my stuff and you like it, that's awesome. I'm looking for family though. I'm not followers and all that shit. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for family, and I'm trying to put out information as I document it. That's about as far as that goes, I guess. But seeing it makes me feel slimy, and I'm not even doing it. So if being started like kind of acting like I was some kind of guru or god or demigod or some shit, I would not fucking like that shit, dude. I didn't even like the prospect of it playing music, you know? Because that definitely happens where they start like really, really getting into you as a being and not just your art or music, you know? I don't know. That sounds big headed, but who knows where this shit is gonna go. If it does go well, which I believe it, I will say that I believe it will. I'm trying to stop doing that. It's the same thing as me tripping up and not calling myself a philosopher for a second. That is what I am, a philosopher. And I do believe this will go well at some point because I think that what I'm saying is going to resonate. It's not because of me, it's because of what I'm saying. Because I'm not just talking shit for no reason, you know? I put lots of effort and like work into trying to fact check my shit and corroborate my shit. If it's not that, then I just call it intuition or a theory, which is what it is, you know? But I'm trying to be as like genuine with it as possible, and I think people like genuine, and I think people want to know the truth. That's even bigger. I'm not an asshole, and people like that, but they also definitely want to know what the fuck this is, because it's confusing everyone. And the more that happens, the more that it makes the experience bad. And the thing that is weird to watch is those that aren't into any of this shit at all, but they start to get into it and then like realize how intense it all is. That's very, I don't know, that's difficult to watch at times. Because very quickly it switches into like denial mode. I think a lot of the time it starts off with like music stuff or entertainment stuff. They get into that whole like Illuminati thing. And then there's different paths, you know, for truth shit to go down. I think, actually, I'll take that back. There's an equal share of those that got into it through all that, like, political, like, Q stuff. The Q movement did help a lot of people to see that things were different than they thought they were. Same thing with all the COVID shit. But it also was very co-opted, like COINTELPRO. So it's almost like they started from a deficit. But yeah, a lot of the time it starts from the music industry or the political shit, which is very tip of the iceberg. It's almost like that's what is desired for you to find so that you don't pay attention to the deeper, more fucked up stuff. It is a fucking iceberg, dude, I'll say that. And get into some dark areas. That's kind of why I didn't understand that dude, I don't. It's not just him. Those that are still into Christianity and other organized religions, most of the time they're like, you just need this and everything is okay. That's usually their message. Jesus, you know, Allah, whoever. So all the contemplation and like trying to break down stuff and trying to understand like where the 1,000-year reign is and where the Satan's short season is and all these things, it's like, why does that matter if you just need Jesus? If you got Jesus, none of that other shit matters. But maybe that's the first step in a process of starting to understand, oh, so maybe this isn't making as much sense as I thought. Which, even that, I'm not so sure that I like that either, because there are a lot of people that need faith in something, or they will fucking lose it. There's a lot of people like that. And I'm not necessarily interested to see what it's like when they don't have it. All of them at the same time? Fuck that. I don't want to see that shit. That's some fucking Book of Eli Walking Dead shit, you know? I don't want to see. I just think that, and I mean that literally. They've been programmed. I'm not saying that. Well, actually, I'm saying both. I'm saying it could look like that, but also the mentalities that they've been programmed with are from those things. You know, when the shit hits the fan, you just fucking lose it on each other, bro. You know? I don't want people to lose their religion. Just, you know, seems like you're doing it different than you used to. Faith in Jesus was all you needed. Now all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of interpretation and apologetics and debate. Weird stuff. But again, I think it makes way more sense to me that, I mean, it literally says fallen angels. You know, that's the name of it. They are fallen angels. If someone can explain to me the difference between demons and fallen angels, that would be cool. I mean, I'm going to look it up after this, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so, though. I genuinely don't think so. Is it, okay, is it that doesn't make sense either. I was going to say, is it that there are fallen angels and then there are humans that become demons? I want to understand. It's like the Lucifer conundrum. There's just certain shit that blinds people, like in a massive scale. It's very strange to me to watch people argue over shit like this. And meanwhile, there's all this like information being put out about black projects where like I left a word out, didn't I? Black, I don't know. It's not a race thing. Black projects, meaning like off the books government shit. Like way more attention should be getting paid to that shit, because like kidnapping from homes, from national forests, from daycares, from schools, the entire country has tunnels under it. Like there's so much shit you could pay attention to, especially if you're a Christian, then that's supposed to give you like, you know, confidence that none of this shit matters. Because in the end, it's like, all right, well, whatever happens, Jesus has got my back. And it sure doesn't sound like that's what's being believed anymore. The more shit happens, the more it's like, so in this verse, it's basically saying this, right? And just look at each other like, please say right. I don't know. That does make me feel bad, though, for that. I don't know I kind of want to talk about that angel demon thing. Not the difference between the two, but them all being connected. I want to talk about that, but I don't really know how to research that well in a way that is definitive, because I just got done talking about how the Bible is not. Really, I don't know that many written texts are trustworthy because of how easy it is to manipulate that shit. I think it was already pretty heavily manipulated, you know, well before many of us were born. So we just think it's true, think it's fact. And we're taught it's fact. That shit gets beaten into your head. Especially if you're in the South. If you're in the South, you go to church fucking 45 times a week. I feel like I had another thing. I think it's just that separation shit. Like, none of this is separate. All of it has to do with each other. And it's more like giving you options of shit to think about or to fucking freak out over. If this thing doesn't make you freak out, then how about this thing? How's that? Does that fit? Try it on a different size. I don't know. That's what it seems like. That's what it feels like. I don't know. I just get bummed out by shit like that. But at the same time, do I need to get bummed out? Because I kind of feel like most of us, if not all of us, the few of us there are, I don't think we're falling for any of that shit. So, although it may sound kind of like cold-blooded, I kind of have to just not care. If they're gonna keep doing that shit, I don't know what to do. I can't help you. My hands are tied now too, or at the moment too. You know, until they're not, and then when they're not, I plan to do some stuff. You know, when that metaphysical veil is completely dropped and things are vastly different than they are now, whenever that happens, that's like a big part of my motivation day to day. It's like, oh, I can't wait for this shit to pop, bruh. You know? But if it doesn't, also, who fucking cares? Yep. It happened anyway. So I figured I would try out talking about some random shit that didn't necessarily like implement governmental stuff to see if that vibrating thing would happen to like make me tired and, you know, not as professional is not the right word. Organized, that's not the right word either. Essentially, I obviously don't want to be like yawning and falling asleep in videos. I explained it in the last video, but I decided to test it out and talk about just kind of like more me stuff still, but like random shit that isn't implementing any agencies or agents. And I thought I did. Did I mention somebody? Did I fuck with anybody? I talked about one of them, but I didn't mention his name. Either way, it still happened anyway. You know? It's fucking lame. I'm really glad I found Eve Lorgan's work. It provides some new potentials, which, you know, generally tends to lead to good epiphanies and new understandings. There's a few that she's talked to that kind of strike me as that performative shit, but, you know, I think that's with everything. You can't expect everything to be sick or good. I say sick sometimes when I mean good, because, you know, cool. When I say cool, I'm not saying something's cold. I'm saying it's tight. Just use as many of those as I can. I don't know. I guess I kind of got that off my chest. I don't really think I thought I had one more thing, but I guess it's not that important, or it'll come back around later. Actually, oh, I remembered, or I found it. It kind of has to do with the illusion of separation thing. There's a lot of beings that are like referencing like Michael or Gabriel or Metatron, and there's, to me, and not just to me, fuck you, dude. Not just to me, but like to many, there's plenty of evidence that those are not good energies, or not good beings. Metatron is a fucking cube, dog. Like, what the fuck what are y'all thinking, you know? Literally, like, they say they're channeling Archangel Gabriel or Michael or whoever, all kinds of stuff, and it's just like, man, do you not you probably don't read. You just saw someone else say Michael, and you were like, yep, the angel's got my back. I talk to him all the time, which is nuts. That's a nuts thing to do instantaneously like that, or even over a little bit of time without actually reading up. Even just on the individual, the internet is a thing. You don't have to read the whole Bible. You can just search Michael. And you could even say all scriptures that reference Michael, or all scriptures pertaining to Michael. That way, if they don't even mention him by name, you still get them shit. It's just, does reading suck that much for beings? Because I don't get it. I don't get that at all. I keep seeing it. It's not just the Abrahamic ones either. Like, some of them are like, I just talked to Inanna, and she told me you need to brush your teeth. Just just fucking weird shit that isn't being second guessed because they knew when to start preying on desperation for meaning, longing for meaning and hope and a better experience. It seems like they almost had it down to an exact science of when to do this shit. Because I definitely thought, like, oh, that's not going to work. And I, each day, am more wrong. Like, there's more and more and more. And they just pick deities. Like, Shango said that you need to pull your pants up. Fucking Papa Legba said, give him more cigars. Stop buying that cheap ass beer you keep giving. Like, just really crazy shit that is no better than believing in the faith systems that they keep telling each other, like, oh, you need to let that shit go. But then they're doing kind of the same shit. It's very strategic. Because, I mean, I guess if you wanted to keep fucking people over, you would make them think they made these big changes. And they actually didn't change shit. They just changed clothes. Their Messiah changed clothes. Their Savior changed clothes. And put on a different mask. And that sucks, dude. No. I don't know. There's I really want to talk to some of those beings that say that they're like in communication with, like, whether it be the African pantheon or the Abrahamic pantheon or aliens. Some of them say they're talking to, like, Lyrians, or that they're channeling for Lyrians. I'd like to talk to them potentially, but I really want to talk to someone who isn't just blindly following that, though, which is really hard to come by. I mean, it's hard to come by someone that will talk to you in the first place, but then, if you don't necessarily agree on topics, it almost seems like it doubles it up. Like, I want to talk to you even less. Maybe I'll try to find that. I can't really ask anybody's help with that because everyone thinks that the person they pay attention to is a genius and that they're not at all biased or confused. Which, I mean, whatever. I guess I could still give it a shot. That shit is really frustrating, though. Them two dudes that were talking about don't read books and don't listen to teachers, we went in circles for like three hours of me just being like, what you're saying is dumb. It doesn't make sense. And they just kept saying it back in different ways. And I'm like, all right. Finally, I was like, I gotta go, But if you do know somebody who, like, frequently communicates with what they believe to be an angel or a demon, even, I'm not just talking about the Satan worshippers too. They're they're invoking demons and summoning demons and shit, and a lot of them will admit that that's just like ritual for themselves, to bring out parts of themselves. But a whole bunch of them are like, no, I'm actually Marduk. Or I'm actually, you know, Nut. I don't really get that, but would like to. I would like to give it a shot with a balanced brain person. Maybe I can. I talked to someone today that I'm going to bring on the show at some point soon that is a health and more like a wellness professional. I don't know what to call it. A healer. He says he's a healer. Which those beings are always interesting to me because they're usually not too full of shit. At least not with the healing stuff. Once they start to get into their belief systems, it's usually all over the fucking place. A lot of African pantheon shit, even if they're not Aboriginal, which is cool. It just seems strange. There's like a uptick in videos of white people telling black people they're the key to everything. Which I'll never deny that there is something different about Aboriginal beings. I don't know what that is, nor am I going to claim to, and I also don't have any evidence or indication that it's like some kind of hierarchy. It's just division. A lot of supremacy going on right now. I posted a video in my community section of some research material that I used, and it's a really good video, but there's a chunk in it where the dude's basically saying like all the Serpentine cult members are direct descendants of the original gods that were white, and I'm like, all right, that's hard to swallow. That's a hard one to swallow, but you know, who am I? I don't fucking know. It doesn't seem like that. It really doesn't. Even if just going by the whole repopulation thing, why were the Aboriginals put in like small areas and kept out of sight? I mean, that's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah. I don't know. That goofy fucking sleepy thing's happening, so I'm not gonna fight that. I'm not gonna go to sleep. As soon as I get off and stop talking about this shit, it's gonna stop, and then I'll feel fucking normal again. That's the thing that's annoying me the most, is that regardless to if I can prove any of this shit to myself or just in general, there's stuff that is happening within my experience which keeps me looking at all this other stuff like and thinking to myself, well, how can I think any of that is not real? In the sense of like goofy shit happening. Because I mean, if anything, in terms of real or not real, it definitely makes me feel like, oh, well, this is just a simulation then. But within that, the experience is real. So all this shit going on is fucked up. I don't know. I'm up out of here, bro. Tired of trying to fight this feeling. All right. I love you. Bye.